Welcome into No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. I'm your host, Joe Zollo. Always hate the StreamYard countdown because it feels so delayed. But welcome into the show. We are pretty much 25 hours away from the NFL draft, and we are breaking down one Miss Britt Flynn's NFL first-round mock draft, which I'm angry about. But I'll be angry whoever gets mocked 3 to the Patriots. So it really doesn't matter who's getting mocked there. I'm going to be angry either way. Full slate, Josh, Ryan, myself, all back together after what feels like 6 weeks. Britt joining us for the first time in a while. Let's get into it. Welcome into No Punt Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. I am your host, Joe Zollo. Top left, Josh. Bottom right, Ryan. First time in 6 weeks because of priorities, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much like that. And
it's a shame you don't make the podcast a priority, Joe. But that's okay.
Yeah, my bad. My paying job and wedding. My bad. Go ahead, Ryan.
I also didn't make it a priority last week when my dog was throwing up all over the house.
Yeah. How dare you put your child before the show?
You.
Yeah. Yeah, you know who doesn't? Britt. Welcome back.
Right.
Well, I'm just lucky right now that my children have not eaten any grass, or else they would be puking right now. But I also have a great co-parent in Sellers, so he's holding the fort down while I'm here talking about football.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Shout out Sellers, the real MVP right
Indeed.
there.
Truly.
Oh, yeah. All right. Mock draft. We have it broken down into 4 sections, 1 through 8, pretty much every 8 picks. 9 through 16, 17 through 24, 25 through 32. Obviously, we're only going to be talking about guys like Joe Alt, Troy Fontenot, Kool-Aid McKinstry. There's no need to talk about, Brian Thomas Jr., Malik Nabers. No one wants to hear that shit. So we're just going to focus strictly on offensive linemen and defensive tackles. So if you're ready for that, buckle in for the next hour. At 1, Britt has J.J. McCarthy going to the Chicago Bears. Just like everyone predicted. Just like everyone thought. Now, Caleb Williams obviously going at 1 to the Bears. Commanders, Jayden Daniels, Patriots, Drake May. Feels like that's been just the consensus across the board for probably the last 2-3 weeks or so. That's what it feels like it's been like. Arizona stays put. They take Marvin Harrison, the best receiver in the draft. And then, a trade, which has seen a lot of action. The Vikings either moving up to 4 or 5, but she has the Vikings moving up to 5, trading with the Chargers. They will take J.J. McCarthy to be the next Vikings quarterback out of Michigan. The Giants stay put at 6, take Malik Nabers from LSU. The Titans, Joe Alt out of Notre Dame, and the Falcons round out the first quarter of the draft with Dallas Turner, edge rusher out of Alabama. Britt, we were talking about how ACC basketball schools don't produce good NFL quarterbacks. So can you tell me why you put Jayden Daniels over Drake May to the Commanders like a smart woman?
Yeah, I said this methodology in my article, but I've been watching the betting trends pretty much since they've come out. Also been watching every, the beat reporters and things like that. And there was a point in time earlier this week or last week where Daniels and May were pretty much even in the odds. I don't know why that happened. That never should have happened. Daniels is the better quarterback out of these two. And something that I completely neglected to talk about in my article, because why would I ever put down a complete thought? Cliff Kingsbury became Washington's offensive coordinator. And something that he requires out of his quarterbacks is dual threat skill set. And Daniels has that in spades. Not only does he have that ability to run, but he has that cannon arm. And unlike Drake May, he's a lot more accurate downfield with those deep balls. So I think that's something that really fits in Kingsbury's air raid offense. And I just think that Daniels is a better quarterback. Now we're going to see if he's durable enough, because that weight is an issue. He's old enough that he's pretty much matured and topped out as far as his weight and his height. So that's going to be something to watch. But his talent cannot be undersold.
Josh, Ryan, any thoughts on obviously the extensive college tape you guys watched throughout the season?
Hey, I'm as caught up as I'm going to be. I have my final rankings done.
I hope so. We're 25 hours away. I hope you're caught up.
I also have Daniels ahead of May. I actually have McCarthy ahead of May. I don't dig into the betting aspect, probably because New York doesn't allow us to bet on the draft. So fuck this state, because that's the one thing I would love to bet on that I don't get to bet on. So fuck you, Kathy Hochul. But anyway.
Yeah, Kathy, you bitch. I didn't know that woman existed until 2 seconds ago.
There you go. Governor of New York ruining my life. But in all seriousness, I agree with everything Britt's saying. The only thing that does concern me is the perceived fragility of his frame, because Washington, and while it's not the same ownership group, it's not the same coaching staff, Washington lived through the fragility of Robert Griffin. And so are they going to go with somebody bigger just so they don't suffer that same fate? Is that the way to draft? I don't exactly know, but I don't think May is the right pick. Honestly, for Kingsbury, I agree. I don't think McCarthy's the right pick for Kingsbury. I think it has to be Jayden Daniels, just because Kingsbury views himself as a creative coach, and there's no more creative quarterback in this draft, probably even more so than Caleb Williams, than Jayden Daniels.
I'm glad he views himself as creative. I'm really glad that he views himself like that.
We all fucking hate him, but I'm sure he views himself as creative.
Yeah, he's the creative kid in the corner of the preschool class. That's what Cliff Kingsbury is.
They put him over there so he doesn't slow the rest of us down.
He's as creative as modern art. That's what we'll call Cliff Kingsbury.
I like it.
Arizona, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah,
I get it, right? We're hearing Malik Nabers and Marvin Harrison Jr. 1A, 1B. Malik Nabers fits the newer age NFL. You can move him anywhere.
Yeah.
All I'm hearing with Marvin Harrison is comparisons to 1, his father, 2, Julio Jones, 3, AJ Green.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
I don't think those comparisons, I feel like everybody gets too cute during draft season.
Yes.
And they want these rumors because they don't want it to come out that they are absolutely glued to their pick. They want to remain open, quote unquote. But the fact is that there is a little bit of a gap between Nabers and between Odunze and Marvin Harrison Jr. Not only does he have the pure athleticism, obviously he's got the pedigree. I don't know if you've heard, but Marvin Harrison is his father.
Kind of
Some
good.
people, I did see on Twitter, I don't know if they were being facetious or not, that some people may or may not have known that. So just want to throw that out there. But with the Cardinals, I think that they've really been looking to replace DeAndre Hopkins. Because remember that year when Kyler Murray and D-Hop came together, those long bomb throws and contested catches that D-Hop was able to do, they haven't looked like that since they let Hopkins walk. And now that they let Marquise Brown go, they really do need a deep vertical threat. And Harrison's going to be that guy. Like Michael Wilson's fine. They've got Trey McBride for those intermediate routes, but Harrison is going to have immediate fantasy value in every single format. Like, I know it takes rookie wide receivers a little bit of time to develop. This is a guy that I think is from day one going to be startable in your lineups.
I think any wide receiver that goes to Arizona pretty much is instantly the wide receiver, like the rookie wide receiver 1. Like, yeah. I don't like, this is hands down the best situation that any one of these rookies can land, in my opinion. I know you see a lot of the Giants being a target, Chicago potentially wanting a wide receiver, the Jets potentially wanting a wide receiver. This is the spot where any of these top 3 guys can come in and instantly be not only the wide receiver 1, but have a viable quarterback that can put them in a position to be a legitimate wide receiver 1. I think that, and especially one as talented as Marvin Harrison Jr., he could instantly come in and have 80 catches, 1,100 yards, and 8 touchdowns. That's a top 12 wide receiver in fantasy next year and potentially for years going forward.
I will go ahead, Ryan.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was just going to say his player profiler comp is AJ Green. Again, aforementioned.
So another comp that I found interesting, and this is not a like person-to-person comp, but when you were talking about the old school wide receiver, we had Popes, Jeremy, on our Mock It Like It's Hot show a few weeks ago. and he was comparing the games of Nabers and Marvin Harrison, and he was looking at it as more, new age versus traditional. And so when he was talking about Nabers, he was talking about Chase and Jefferson and guys like that. When he brought up, when he was talking about Nabers, when he was talking about Harrison, he brought up Green and Julio. And while it's not a position for position, the third name he threw out there was Larry Fitzgerald. And man, is there any name that rings more true in Arizona than Larry Fitzgerald? So if the productivity and the consistency of Larry Fitzgerald is something they can get a hold of, they're going to take it. I actually had a question for Britt. So you mentioned that one of the reasons you stuck with Harrison at 4 was that Arizona kind of wants the world for the 4th pick. When you say wants the world, I mean, you didn't, I'm paraphrasing what you put in your article, but I didn't know if you got into the research. Is what Minnesota has enough to get up there? Like it is 11 and 23, I believe. Is that going to be enough to jump up there? Obviously they're going to have to kick something else in, but is 11 and 23 even going to be appealing to the Arizona Cardinals?
Yeah, what I've heard through the research is that they're asking for 3 first-round picks, which down the road, I don't know what they have. I'm not well-versed in upcoming and future picks, but this year, I don't think that they have it. Arizona could ask for something as ludicrous as trading Justin Jefferson for that pick. That is the kind of haul that they're asking for a team to move up. And I just don't see a team really giving that much when, if they truly believe that Nabers and Odunze are kind of comparable, they're right there and there are teams asking for less. So I don't think that a team spins up as much as Arizona's asking.
11 feels like that. Like when I was doing my mocks, 11 feels like that dirty spot in fantasy football where you're like, I'm not going to trade to that spot because all the good people are gone. So I don't want your stupid trade. I'm going to stay up here where I can get my guy. And especially if my guy is Marvin Harrison. So I was just wondering, because obviously then you're talking about kicking in next year's one, but then like next year's one could also suck for Minnesota if they get their quarterback. They have fucking Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. Minnesota could easily win their division next year if their quarterback hits. And now all of a sudden you're talking about 11, 23 and a 25th pick, and that's just not what you're looking for.
Kind of similar to what Arizona is dealing with this year, right? Like they made that deal last year with Houston to move back, and they're like, oh, maybe we're getting a top 10 pick out of this. Nope. And then Houston
that's such a good point, Josh. Maybe that's going to scare them off.
Exactly. And Houston exploded, and they're sitting at 27 now. And it's like, was that really
wonderful point? It did not even occur to me that was Arizona.
Especially since they ended up moving back up to get their their left tackle in Paris Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
I just love that Ryan thinks Minnesota has a chance in that division. I think that's cute.
You're trying to tell me you don't think that the Bears will shoot themselves in the foot some way, somehow?
I'm not saying that.
Or the Lions?
Or the Lions?
Right.
Yeah. Guys, there's 2 better teams.
I love the Lions. I adore the Lions. I'm just saying, if JJ McCarthy or Drake May is it, and we're all, I know, Joe, but if they are...
Mm-hmm. It's still. Do you know how bad their defense is?
2-letter word in the English dictionary than if.
Do you know how bad their defense is? They literally, the only positional advantage they have at any position in that division is receiver. And if you have fucking Ty Chandler throwing them the football, it doesn't matter.
Detroit's weak at corner. Their front 7 is obviously elite, but they're
the
weak at
Vikings
corner.
Employ cooks for corners. They literally employ line cooks.
But I'm just saying, and Chicago
future McDonald's employees
in the first place. So
it's not even close. It's not even close.
It's closer than you're pretending it is.
No, it's not. Minnesota is a 5, maybe 6 win team at best, even with a good quarterback. If they don't get a good quarterback, they are 3 or 4 win team. They have no offensive line, no defense. The only weapons they have are Jefferson and Jordan Addison. And name me the last time a team has ever come close or has won a Super Bowl with a
I don't need them to win the Super Bowl, bitch. I'm talking about their division.
No, I know. I'm just throwing it out there for the best teams. They normally don't have a great wide receiver 1 or the top tier wide receiver.
Oh my
1.
God, you're talking about the best teams, not
yes, the best teams.
What the
yes,
fuck are we talking about?
The winning teams. Fucking Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore scoring against the Eagles in the fucking Super Bowl. What is this bullshit? Okay. speaking of the Vikings, JJ McCarthy goes there, then the Giants take Malik Nabers. How do we feel on JJ? Britt, he's the national champion. The man is a national champion.
Yeah, I'm honestly not sold. And I will say that flat out. But a lot of people are. And especially for the Vikings, who run a ton of play action, JJ McCarthy is very, very good when he runs play action, completing like 70-something, upper 70 percentile of his passes.
Because he doesn't have to think.
Well, and again, that's where the whole split comes to, right? Is he good because he's a product of a system, or is he actually a good quarterback because of his skill set? We don't know yet. But he did come out and say that he was frustrated playing under Harbaugh at times because it was such a run-heavy offense. He definitely would have better weapons in Minnesota than he had in Michigan. Not to beat the nail over the head or a dead horse or whatever, but Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison are better than Roman Wilson. Let's just leave that there. So it is going to be interesting. I was really waffling on this trade though, because the Chargers do need a wide receiver. They do need an offensive lineman. How much are the Vikings going to be willing to give up? And I finally settled on the fact that with 11 and 23, the Chargers can get both of their needs in the first round. And so that's why I finally made the trade. I'm so up in the air about whether or not this is going to happen and who's going to jump who. And it's going to be really interesting to see. But I do think McCarthy's going to be a good fit with the Vikings.
So I think what makes this deal interesting, though, is the fact that the Vikings don't have a day 2 pick this year. Mm-hmm. So for them to make a deal like this to move up, it's probably going to cost both these first. But then now they're dipping into next year's draft pool and potentially hamstringing a rookie quarterback because you then still have to pay Justin Jefferson. And with the Amon-Ra St. Brown extension that just happened today, Jefferson's probably going to want close to $35 million a year in this new deal. So they're going to have to get really interesting from a payroll perspective and salary cap and all of these different things, moving up to get a quarterback, handing out draft picks to then move up. That closes a lot of that window and the ability to fill up all of these needs via the draft, because your cap is going to be hamstrung by a wide receiver deal. You paid TJ Hawkinson last year, and you paid for, I think it was Jonathan Denard, one of the defensive end or whatever from Houston they brought in to replace Daniel Hunter. So there's a lot of moving pieces there. And I mean, I think they're obviously going to explore it. I don't know that they're able truly to get this done without sinking themselves in the next 3 years.
And that's kind of what I was bringing up on the other question. In my own mock, Britt, I went with a little bit of chaos. And so I do have Arizona trading. And then I have Mr. Michigan, Jim Harbaugh at 5. I'm like, he is not going to take Marvin Harrison. So I have Nabers going over Harrison and fulfilling all the prophecies that everybody has right now because Jim Harbaugh is petty. So.
I mean, that's very true.
So petty.
That's another factor that should go into the research. The pettiness of the coach.
So petty. He's going to trade Justin Herbert to the Vikings.
and draft Blake Corum, Roman Wilson, and JJ
McCarthy.
Yeah. Yep.
What do you mean? Tell me I'm wrong.
You're wrong. I have no issue stating those words.
Well, Ryan, in roughly 25 hours and 45 minutes, you're going to be proven wrong. All right.
I love chaos. So I'm an agent of chaos. I will be very, actually, as a Justin Herbert manager in many a dynasty league, I'll be fucking
You'd love that
if that move goes down. If you're telling me my guy gets to move on from my Lord and Savior Keenan Allen and Mike Williams to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, that's just,
and TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah. Well, maybe a little bit. It's
half of TJ
half a season. Yeah. So.
Half a season of TJ
and Aaron
Hawkinson.
Jones. So
3 games of Aaron Jones, if we're talking
best 3 games of his life.
It'd be the Austin Eckler situation from last year. Malik Nabers. So Britt, Malik Nabers again. Everyone's back and forth. You said there's a clear difference between Harrison, Nabers, and Odunze. Why do you have Nabers at 2?
I think that Nabers at 2 is, the LSU playing with the number 2 overall pick, in my opinion, definitely sells you in your draft stock. What I'm looking at really though is his talent and what he's been able to do with kind of being more of an undersized wide receiver. So if we look at, some of the prototypical guys like Harrison's 6'4", Brian Thomas, who played with Nabers, is 6'3". There are some big guys out there at only 6 feet. Nabers is a little bit smaller, but he's still ranked second in deep catches, third in deep yards, and then ranked fourth in missed tackles. Like, for a little guy to be able to shake off tackles and defenders, that's a big, big thing. I also think that field stretching ability is something that the Giants really need because, let's face it, they're basically a glorified slot receiver home, like in their wide receiver room. That's all that they have.
I thought you were about to say glorified high school football team, but yeah, that works too.
Well, that too. There is that. I joked last season that the Giants wide receiver room was the slot wide receiver elephant graveyard, because that's just where all the old slot receivers kind of collected and went to just sit and break themselves or collect dust. So if they really are going to give Daniel Jones one more season, they're going to have a field stretcher. If they move on from Daniel Jones, hey, at least you're giving your quarterback next year a young, new, exciting piece with Nabers. So, yeah, I don't know. I like the fit there. Not as a Cowboys fan, but
I want to throw one scenario out because I'm hearing this kind of come through some like draft insider notes and everything. Do we think this is fire or smoke that the Giants might want to try to move up into that top 3 so they can get Drake May?
Hold on.
Okay,
serious?
listen.
You
Is that
took an
actual
ACC
thing?
quarterback. What if did we not learn our lesson?
Yeah, go from
Did we
one
not
who
learn?
played at Duke to one who played at UNC. Like,
Didn't they
if
trade up to get
you
Daniel
learned
Jones?
on that, you deserve it.
This is my theory here. I think it's less about the ACC quarterback because that was the old regime.
Is
that
it
was
though?
Dave Gettleman.
Is it?
That was Dave
Is it?
Gettleman. Yes, it was the old regime.
Yeah.
This being the same people that drafted Josh Allen
Oh yes.
from Wyoming.
The
We're gonna
conflict
strike
is-
lightning twice.
Well, but front office executives and head coaches are that egotistical that they feel like they can.
So, Josh, this is
Just
an
throwing that out
actual.
there. Yes, this is an actual rumor.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Did they trade up
I
to get
hate it
Daniel
here.
Jones, or did he fall to them?
He fell to
Believe
them.
he fell to
Okay.
them six.
So,
I mean, everybody said it was a reach at the time, and we all. knew it
I
was.
just wasn't sure.
Yeah.
So, but I'm just like, they have way too many holes to consider creating more holes to
Well,
move
it's the
up
same
to
situation
create
with
a hole
the
at
Vikings and
quarterback.
J.J. McCarthy, right? You're trading
but-
up to get an asset, but then dealing other assets to fill holes that you clearly need to help fill at a lesser salary.
I would say, though, that at least the Vikings have more pieces in place than the Giants do.
100%.
Like,
100%.
so at least you're making it worth it to kind of trade up, and you're betting
Like-
on the talent that you already have. The Giants are like even more so than Swiss cheese. They're like mouse-eaten Swiss cheese. Like
If I'm a
more
Giants
holes
fan
than holes.
and they trade up for Drake May, I'm making a sharp right turn off the George Washington Bridge the next morning.
I think one of my
What
favorite,
are you doing?
I think one of my favorite stories I heard this week is that current number 1 wide receiver Darius Slayton is skipping the voluntary workouts, and I'm like, man, that's some ego right there, boy. You are 24 hours away from being replaced. You might want to show your ass up.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I love Darius Slayton, but that was a ballsy call there, my friend.
Facts.
God, I hope the Giants do that. I
Oh my
hope
God.
the Giants trade up to 3 and
It's
steal
gonna be a
Drake
fun
May
draft
from
show
us.
tomorrow if that happens, Joe.
Ecstatic. Love it. Beautiful. Wow. Made my day a whole lot better. Elixir says thoughts on Atlanta trading down.
Yeah, I mean, they might, but I don't know. I feel like with this new regime and coaching change and now Kirk Cousins there, they have another top 10 pick. I feel like they're finally going to try and use it and fill some holes on the defense where they need it. So I don't see them trading down, but man, anything can happen, especially with that crazy over-under total for trades.
Yeah, weren't they? They were like bottom 5 in like pass rush win rate or something last year. Like it's stupid bad. And all I
It
keep
was
thinking back to is when they reached for Vic Beasley some years back, right in the top 10. And I'm just like, with this edge class really not being considered that deep, do they really want to try to do this again? Because it might have the same results.
I want that kid from Florida State, but he's not the 8th
Jared Verse.
overall pick.
Right.
Well, and maybe that's where the trade down idea comes from, right?
Yeah.
Like, with this edge class not being very deep, you're essentially pushing up lesser talents because it's considered a premium position. Maybe trading back is the right move, especially if somebody's trying to get ahead of the Bears and the Jets for Odunze, or somebody wants to get one of these top flight corners, Quinion Mitchell or Terrion Arnold.
Mm-hmm.
Kool-Aid McKinstry.
I don't think he's a top 10 pick.
No, but
His name is the 101 of this
He's
draft.
the 101
That's
of
top 10
names.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know who's going to be the 101 of names when he comes out? Mobility.
I love mobility. I love Tiger Shanks.
Do you want to know his brother's name? Ability.
Is it really?
I swear, I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure. Yeah.
Yep.
It's awesome. It's awesome. And then my brother made the joke. He says, "Yeah, his sister's name is Dissa." I was like, "Gee, that's a horrible joke." That was a good one. It was a good one. I laughed. It was a good one. But yeah, I'm pretty sure his brother's name is Ability, which is awesome.
Wow.
That's just fucking awesome.
God,
Brett-
millennial parent. Jesus
Brett, I
Christ.
read that Byron Murphy is moving up the betting market as the possible first defensive player off the board. Now, obviously,
He
he's more of
should.
a traditional lineman versus an edge rusher. Do you see, would Atlanta consider him there? Because I know Grady Jarrett stepped up and did big things for Atlanta last year, but he's like 36 years old. so-
Ancient.
Yeah, it's so crazy because Dallas Turner has been the favorite to go off the board as the first defensive player this entirety of the offseason and this draft process, except for this past week and the start of this week. And then all the odds started moving and changing. So it definitely could happen. I still think that Atlanta should go with an edge instead of an interior lineman because their pass rush was just so bad. But that movement tells me that there is a little bit of smoke.
Yeah, something worth keeping an eye on.
All right, moving into 9 through 16. At 9, the Bears. Rome Odunze out of Washington. The Jets. New York just does what New York does. Ruins everyone's hopes and
It's
dreams.
fun, right, Joe? It's fun.
Oh, it's so fun. Brock Bowers goes to the New York Jets to rot away. Trade. Obviously, the Chargers move down from 5. They get pick 11 and 23. With pick 11, they take the offensive tackle Taliese Fauga. I don't know how to say his
Fauga.
name. Fauga,
Fauga.
thank you. Out of Oregon State. The Broncos end up with Bo Nix out of Oregon. Raiders, offensive tackle J.C. Latham. Saints take a tackle Troy Fontenot. Colts, Quinion or Kenyon Mitchell?
I think it's Quinion.
I
Quinion
think
Mitchell.
it's Quinion.
Okay, beautiful. Quinion Mitchell. That's what I figured. Quinion Mitchell out of Toledo. Shout out Mac. Let's go. Shout out the Mac conference.
Love
Let's
it.
go. And the Seattle Seahawks take center/guard Jackson Powers Johnson. Sick name. Superhero name right there. That's a great name. Obviously, the Bears getting Odunze here is pretty solid. That would make their wide receiver room. Why am I forgetting who the second guy they just got?
Keenan Allen.
DJ Moore and
Keenan
Keenan
Allen or
Allen.
DJ
Thank you. I don't know why I was blanking on that. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen,
Because you
Rome
haven't been on the
Odunze.
show in 6 weeks, Joe.
I literally have not. I have not paid attention to anything outside of Adam Schefter tweets and what I've listened to on this show on Spotify. That's an insane receiver room. Now, I wouldn't say the Bears need a receiver. Obviously, Keenan Allen's old and he's nearing the end of his time. There are more holes on the Bears' overall roster than they would need at receiver, but he's pretty fucking good. Go ahead, Britt.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I was a little torn on this one too, because like you said, there are a lot of holes elsewhere. But I think with as aggressive as the Bears were to go get those weapons for Williams in this offseason, they're going to want another youthful wide receiver to pair with him throughout his stay and his tenure in Chicago, because Allen's not going to be around for much longer. Like, he's already over 30. He's already had some injury issues the past couple seasons. As good as he is, it's just a fact of life. You know, you gotta call it quits sometimes. And so with Odunze, you're really building up not only currently, but the future. And that's why I think that they go after him. He was also amazing. We talked about Nabers being second and third in deep catches and deep yards. Well, Odunze was first in both of those metrics. So you talk about a field stretcher. This guy is it. Now, the only knock on him is he didn't really break out until Michael Penix Jr. came to Washington to be the quarterback. So it's kind of a question of whether or not he's a product of the talent around him or his own development. I do think that it's a little bit of both, more development than Michael Penix, but that's why I have him just under Malik Nabers. But he would be such a good fit in Chicago. They're going to screw everything else up, so the offense might as well be fun, right?
Odunze's a dog.
What a contrast in Chicago, going from just a black hole of an offense to, hey, you have the best quarterback in generations and 3 amazing wide receivers to throw the ball to. Like, what a change.
And
That
Justin Fields watching like
philosophy change.
Yeah, Justin
Team that
Fields
wants to play good defense and run the football, and they're like, oh, we're gonna go 3 wide and sling it. Like, that's a big change in philosophy. I don't know that the Bears actually stay at 9, truthfully, because they only have 4 picks in this draft. They have the 1st, the 9, and then I don't think they pick again until the 4th round. Obviously, they use some of those picks on, getting guys like Keenan Allen, trading for Montez Sweat. I see a lot of the Colts trying to move up, potentially to get Brock Bowers, maybe to get a corner. Obviously, Britt, you have Quinion Mitchell falling to them here at 15. I'm curious to know, if the Bears trade out, where do we think that Rome Odunze falls? Because after today and our women of fantasy contingent that's at the draft, and Rome Odunze said he loves fantasy football, he's now my wide receiver 1 in this class.
Because he's fucking good.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, I don't think he falls much further.
Want me to give you your answer? Chargers at 11.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Yeah.
I don't know that he gets there. I mean, if you look, because you got the Jets who can certainly use him. And then, well, I guess, so it'd be the Jets because this is the projected trade. So,
yeah, I don't know.
I could see the Jets taking him.
100%.
You can use Garrett Wilson a little bit more versatile, and then Odunze as your X. I think it works out really well.
Mike Williams,
especially because you're only getting 2
I completely forgot about the Mike Williams signing.
So,
is signing Mike Williams any different than signing Keenan Allen though? So you still need to replace him.
But to me, the Bears are in a 5-year time frame. The Jets are on a this season time frame.
Well, that's where I see what you're saying.
So to me, I think you want to invest in bigger holes than Garrett Wilson and Mike Williams, and I've never been a Mike Williams defender. Tyler Conklin can do the exact same thing in that offense that Brock Bowers will do. Sit there and do nothing.
Stop it.
Well, when you end it with sit there and do nothing, yes, you're not wrong on that.
Yeah, exactly. The exact way they're going to use Tyler Conklin is how they'll use Brock Bowers. You don't want that. You as a fantasy manager do not want that. Me with 6 first-round picks in this upcoming rookie draft does not want fucking Brock Bowers on the Jets. All right? That's painful. Anyways, Britt, you hate fun. So do the Jets. You have Brock Bowers going to the Jets. It makes sense, but why'd you have to do it?
Because I'm a fun ruiner.
Yeah.
You know this.
Fucking Arkansas.
Well, I will say, before free agency, I did have the Jets taking an offensive tackle. But since they were able to go out, get Tyron Smith, I feel like that really shores up their line enough to where they have the flexibility. They obviously don't need anybody on defense. They've got Tyler Conklin. The depth chart after that is disgusting as far as tight end goes. Aaron Rodgers loves a good tight end. I don't think that, I don't think that we can say that we truly know the usage of that offense because Aaron Rodgers wasn't there last season. They just had this hodgepodge of quarterbacks. And I think that if Hackett does get a tight end like Brock Bowers, that he's going to design plays for Aaron Rodgers and the tight end like we saw all those years ago in Green Bay. And Bowers is such an athletic unicorn. Like, you don't go out as a true freshman and do what he did and then follow it up by back-to-back Mackey Awards unless you are truly a generational talent. And I'm throwing generational out here because I believe he's more of a generational talent than Caleb Williams is.
Because it's been a generation since a good tight end like that has been drafted.
Yeah.
I mean,
it hasn't been 5 years since Patrick Mahomes was drafted.
Well, I mean, nobody was even calling Mahomes generational. We were throwing that praise at Trevor Lawrence.
But he is now.
Well, yeah. Well, I see what
he is
saying.
now.
Yeah.
Like this is his generation. It's not Caleb Williams.
Mm-hmm.
This is his generation.
Yep.
He's not a generational talent because he's not going to be better than Patrick Mahomes. Sorry. He might not be a top 5 quarterback in this league.
Mm-hmm.
Or he could.
Brock Bowers can easily be a top 5 tight end because all he has to do is find the end zone once a week.
And to your point, Joe, the Jets targeted the tight end 13th most in the NFL last year, 22% of their passes. Sans Aaron Rodgers. So
I was going to say, is that more a product of Zach Wilson just sucking and just checking down? Or is this what we're to expect when Rodgers comes back?
Unless Aaron Rodgers gives me the 1 year of Robert Tonyan, I do not want Brock Bowers on this team. Right? Gator, I'm angry every day. This doesn't make sense.
Literally about to type that in the
This
chat.
doesn't make sense. If you think, listen, everything Britt is saying, logical, makes complete sense. But fucking why? Why? That's simple. It's torture. It's torture. That doesn't make sense for us. It's so stupid. Brock Bowers on the Jets with Aaron Rodgers, the notorious guy who doesn't target tight ends? That's awful. That's terrible. We don't want that.
I wanted to argue with you, but I looked at his last 3 years in Green Bay, and his percentages were 17, 17, and 19% of his targets going to the tight end position. So it's a little sketch.
But the sad part is, like, that actually would probably be a top 3 to 5 target rate if all of those targets went to Brock Bowers.
Well, yeah, but that's not how any of that.
That's not how it's going to work because Tyler Conklin will be on the field.
Yeah.
Not if Brock Bowers is there. He won't.
No.
I guarantee you, they will run.
Well, the other thing about that, we also don't have a slot wide receiver. So
Bowers going to play there, and Conklin's going to be on the field.
Yeah.
Tyler Conklin will steal targets from Brock Bowers, whether you like it or not, and Aaron Rodgers hates tight ends. Ever since Jermichael Finley fucked up in the NFC Championship game, he's hated tight ends.
Wait a second. Millie, I don't know if this is the argument you want to make. He made Tonyan who he is today, which is nobody.
Which is nobody.
The guy who was just replaced by Gerald Everett by the Bears.
What do you mean? Gerald Dog? Young Jeezy? All right, quick. Millie says, Rome could be a Saint as well if Denver takes Bo Nix. Very true. That could very well happen. And a college basketball question. How I feel about Calipari. I don't give two shits about college basketball. It really doesn't matter. It's irrelevant since guys do one and dones now. But I think Calipari is a little bit of a bitch. Honestly, I feel like Britt's agreeing, and she's an Arkansas fan. Yeah.
Well, it's because you called out Arkansas, so that's why he was like, eh.
Yeah. He couldn't do anything at Kentucky after his guys went one and dones, and he had one of the best teams ever in college basketball and fumbled it away. So he's not really a great coach, just a great recruiter.
Yeah.
And
I think my favorite part was his press conference when he's like, "Team? What team? There's nobody here."
Yeah, I talked to the team. There is no team.
Very true. So true. I also love when they were trying to ask the UConn head coach, forgetting his name, but like, the Kentucky job is open. Would you want to go to Kentucky? I'm like, UConn is just as good and as pedigreed as Kentucky, if not more. And it's not in Kentucky.
Yeah. Yep.
That's literally what he said. He's like, I don't think my wife would like that. I'm like, that's a great answer, sir. That's such a good answer. All right. Speaking of Bo Nix, as Millie said, you have Nix at 12 to the Broncos. It's been J.J. McCarthy. It's been, at weird times, Michael Penix. It's been Bo Nix more recently. It's almost always been a quarterback going to the Broncos, rightfully so. I don't think they want to walk into next season with Zach Wilson.
I say, now that they've traded for their franchise quarterback, Britt, do you change that pick?
Here's my thing. Zach Wilson is now back in the mountains a mile high.
There you go.
And he's not too far from Utah. So does he get the magic back? My question is, how hot are the moms in Denver? I think really that's the deciding factor for will Zach Wilson play well. And I think if we get that data, I think we can then settle on what will the Broncos do at 12. But to Britt, Bo Nix, do you like Bo Nix, or is this just the best guy here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that he's fine. He definitely improved going from Auburn to Oregon. Auburn is very, very shaky, but he definitely made an improvement going to Oregon. And I will admit that this is high for Nix because his over-under on position taken is right now at 35.5. But I do think that Denver needs a quarterback so bad. And then you've got the Raiders behind them. Denver doesn't have a second-day pick, so they pretty much have to get their guy on day one if they're going to have a starting quarterback, unless they just find like a diamond in the rough on day 3 like Dallas did with Dak Prescott. But those don't come along every,
Joe Milton, dog.
Honestly, that's not a bad one either. But
I was going to say that big arm would play well in Denver.
Yeah,
yes.
Just the rest of it won't.
That man throwing 100, just throwing the first ever 99-yard air touchdown.
I'll throw it over those mountains of Coach.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that would be, I mean, and maybe they do opt for that, but I really do think that they just suck it up, go for their quarterback on day one. They don't try to trade down because they know that there are other teams competing to potentially snag their guy. And Nix is really great at completing intermediate routes. And when you look at Sean Payton and how he likes to run his offense, he uses a ton of tight end / running back receiving plays. And Nix is also incredibly secure with the ball. Oh, he only threw 3 interceptions last season. That's something that Sean Payton loves. And I think that he might be thinking that he's getting Drew Brees light with Bo Nix here. I don't know, but there are reports that
how light are we talking?
Well, right.
How light are we talking here?
Is it like non-alcoholic?
Is it like up and up, great value, Aldi? What are we talking about? Because I think it's like expired milk.
On the tree of Budweiser, Bud Light, and Bud Zero, where does Bo Nix rank on?
Yeah, right. No, exactly.
Apple cider.
Apple cider.
Yeah. Non-alcoholic vodka. Like, I don't.
Isn't that water?
Yes, exactly.
And then
I will say, I agree with you. From Auburn to Oregon, different human. Completely different guy. And to add to his turnovers, didn't all his turnovers come against Georgia in week 1 anyway? Like, he didn't turn the ball over ever. So he played like shit against Georgia, but
plus Michael Thomas is still a free agent. So if you're going to get the next Drew Brees, you just bring Slant Boy back in. Everything's going to work out.
Yeah,
Slant Boy.
Make it Saints North.
Exactly.
Listen, there's a reason Adam Troutman still has a job, and that's because Sean Payton is a head coach in the NFL.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, brutal.
I'm starting to think that the Bo Nix going in the top 15 might be high, though. Like, I've seen a lot of people, and Britt, you touched on it with,
but they got to take someone
5.5, right? Like,
yeah,
that just, it feels like everything that like all the rumors and stuff people are starting to float around. And again, I mean, we can take it for whatever it is, but a lot of people seem to be thinking that Penix now is going to be that 5th quarterback off the board, kind of jumping over Bo Nix. If Denver is able to make a trade back, because again, this is another team that's depleted of draft assets. They're able to move back, say, into the 20s, because there are a lot of people talking that Philly might be looking to move up potentially for a corner. Let's say they make a move with Philly. They're sitting now at 22. Maybe Nix falls there. They get their quarterback and additional draft capital, right?
Yeah.
You're just rolling the dice aggressively.
I was listening to CBS, I believe. I forget the analyst. My apologies. And they said they talked to some insiders whose teams do not currently have top 10 picks that said if they did have a top 10 pick, they would take Michael Penix. So he is well liked apparently in some circles. But again, those teams don't currently have top 10s. So the question is that someone they're willing to move up for, or do they believe in him that much?
Or are they just trying to drive up the stock so those other players they don't need end up falling to them?
Exactly.
I think a lot of people are thinking that Michael Penix could be the most skilled quarterback in this draft. His hindrance is his knees.
It's the knees.
So I mean, hell, if he had one knee problem, he might be the third quarterback off the board.
But shoulder surgery too, I think.
Health concerns across the board.
Yeah.
Health concerns across the board, and he's older. So I think that has going for him. But like from a pure skill standpoint, I think people have him there with Daniels, if not right behind Caleb Williams in this for just pure skill standpoint. I mean, when you see him throw the football,
certainly as a pocket, I was going to say certainly as a pocket passer. I think there's some questions about his
mobility.
Certainly his mobility.
Quick.
No, he is quick.
4.5 in the pro day. Like,
no,
you
he is
see
quick.
That on tape at all.
He is quick, but
well, that's what I was going to bring up, Josh. That's where I wasn't going for his mobility. You didn't see it on tape. Like, it's not the way he plays the game, and he's not going to change more than likely. And so if you add injury concerns into a guy, I don't want to call him a statue because he's not that, but a guy who's not going to move much, that's a problem. You better have a hell of a left tackle.
I'm a lesser of an Aaron Rodgers, a guy who consistently stays in the pocket, but Rodgers obviously tucks and runs when he needs to, but 95% of the time that man is dropping back 3-5 steps and throwing from the pocket. So something on those lines, obviously a lot less than that. But moving on to 17 through 24, only one offensive skill position player in this set here. 17, Jacksonville going with Terrion Arnold out of Alabama, the cornerback. Another team that could potentially look for a receiver. I mean, it's just Christian Kirk currently sitting there, so could be something there.
What do you mean Davis went there? Come on, Joe.
The Jacksonville Jaguars could potentially be looking for a wide receiver too.
Yeah.
Cincinnati Bengals offensive tackle Olu Fashanu. Some of these names are awesome. I've never heard of these guys. Yeah. This is great. Out of Penn State. If T. Higgins says bye-bye, I think they're okay, honestly, at the receiver position with Yoshivas and Charlie Jones and all that, but could be something. The Rams, Byron Murphy out of Texas, they're good on receiver. They don't need anybody. Byron Murphy, obviously one would say a great replacement for Aaron Donald. Not probably going to have the same production, especially in the pass rush, but as a run stuffer and big body in the middle, he's fantastic. Steelers at 20 take offensive lineman Amarius Mims out of Georgia. The Dolphins take interior defensive lineman Jerzon Newton. Again, awesome name out of Illinois.
A-plus names in the first.
A-plus names in this draft. It really is great. The Eagles take the first starting white cornerback since 2003, Cooper DeDog out of Iowa. All right. The man is insane.
Yeah, you're welcome, guys. You're welcome.
Hey, Britt, you know what sucks? He's going to get injured and suck because that's Philadelphia's secondary to a team.
That's true.
Except my king. Where is he? There he is. You can't see it because the logo. Darius Slay. Dog. Mississippi State. Trade. The Chargers also get pick 23 from that trade with Minnesota. And with that second pick, they will take Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU. And then the Cowboys at 24 will take offensive lineman Graham Barton out of Duke. Obviously, the big name in this one is Brian Thomas Jr. You mentioned it. He's up there. He's kind of that next tier after those first three. He's the top of that second tier. What do you like about Brian Thomas?
Yeah, so he actually had more deep yards this past season than Malik Nabers did. Yet Nabers is going up like ahead of him by quite a few spots in this draft. And he's got 3 inches of height on Nabers. So he's
some would say that's too much.
Jesus, Joe.
Some would say that's a lot.
What I was gonna say is that looking at the numbers and his measurables, you would think that he would be going in that same tier as Nabers, but the knock on him is that his route tree isn't very developed. Like the targets that he saw were limited to just 2 or 3 types of routes. And he also doesn't have much experience in press coverage. So I think if he can develop that in the NFL, he's going to be just as good as Nabers and it'll be a bargain. But he's, that's still an unknown. So we don't know. But still the Chargers desperately need a wide receiver. And so they're going to take, I think, whoever's there if they get this trade and they get this spot. Just so happens I have Thomas falling. And he really is a cost-effective option at this stage, I think, who does still have some room for development. Quentin Johnston, I do not care that he's only in his second year. Stone hands stone hands. I do not think he's going to develop. This is Brian Thomas's wide receiver one job to take.
Standing O, Britt. What a great take. You could have said nothing except that last line.
I was just going to say, everything you said to upset Joe previous in the show is now gone.
It's absolved. I am absolved.
How do you feel about a Christian Watson comparison? That's what Player Profiler has him with.
I think that's bullshit.
Okay.
Christian Watson, is not the same caliber. He played for North Dakota State.
What do you mean? That's the best FCS school in the nation, North Dakota State.
FCS is not SEC.
You don't know
especially...
that. Have you ever been to the Fargo Dome? You don't know Montana State.
I haven't.
Montana State trotting out those dogs that they have. Come on now.
Right.
Britt, the South Dakota State Jackrabbits.
I mean, A+ mascot for sure.
You are not up to date on your FCS Fargo Dome football, all right? You've never been down to the soccer stadium they play their championship in? Come on, Britt.
Yeah. Well, you're right.
Do you even watch football? Jeez.
I don't even know the game. Tell me you don't watch football without telling me.
Do you even football? Come on. That's insane. Anybody thoughts on Brian Thomas before we head into 25 through 32?
I mean, I don't hate the pick. I
sounds like you do.
I just don't think the Chargers are going to take a wide receiver this early. I truly don't.
Really?
It's so deep.
I think we all know that they need a wide receiver, but I feel like that, getting that elite level wide receiver won't be this year with how they're looking to build. They've gone through and they've basically reset this offense.
Get him, Gator.
And I feel like wide receiver for them might be the least of their worries. They bring in a new regime, right? New GM, new head coach, new coaching staff, new offense, all this. They obviously spent a first-round pick on Quentin Johnson. I think for me, if I'm running this team, I'm thinking to myself, okay, I didn't draft this guy, but instead of trying to replace him right out of the gate, let's see how he fits in this offense first. And then we go through and spend a premium pick to get our guy, right? Because then if you go through, make that pick without even seeing if he's actually good, and then he develops into being really good, you then could have used that pick on a position, a different position that you need, right?
I think
we love Josh Palmer here.
Chris with the comment of the century right there. Comment of the century.
So I was going to say, though, one of the things we have to learn is who this Chargers team is going to be, because Greg Roman is likely to run a lot of 2 tight end sets, which then they don't desperately need a third wide receiver. And one thing we haven't seen them do yet, Greg Roman's offense is a fullback offense, and they have not added and I'm not saying anywhere in the draft. I mean, maybe there's someone later in the draft, but they're likely to add a fullback. And so my concern is if they believe, and I don't disagree with Britt that Quentin Johnston ain't it, but if they believe that, Palmer and Johnston, and then they also drafted Darius Davis in the 5th round, we've talked about how deep this draft is at wide receiver. If they believe they're just looking for depth, it's going to be an interesting pick. I guess the issue is looking strictly at Britt's mock. He is probably the best player available. Now, obviously, there's arguments that it could be Troy Franklin. If they wanted a slot wide receiver, it could be Ladd McConkey. I guess there's a couple of good edge guys still available. I'm just looking strictly at Britt's mock. I don't know if edge is going to be a priority for them. There's so much we don't know.
Joey Bosa's always hurt.
I was going to say Bosa's hurt.
This could be a situation where they're adding to a strength, but then they're cutting these older, more expensive veterans and then moving forward with the younger, probably better at this point, edge rusher.
Yeah, and again, just focusing this on Britt's mock, and if you guys, we haven't really mentioned it, this is an article available on the site. She put a ton of time into this. It's probably the biggest article Club Fantasy may have ever published. I think she got more words in than Josh did. So
that's an accomplishment, Britt, let me tell you.
Go check it out. But looking at her mock, I'm going to kill this guy's name. Is it Laiatu Latu from UCLA, and then Jared Verse from Florida State, both good edge rushers that in a normal draft would probably go 10 picks higher, but this draft is just so star-studded on offense. I think it's going to be real interesting to see how they handle it.
If Latu and Tui Pelotu are on the same team, that is going to be a tough day for all announcers. That is going to be a rough day for all announcers trying to get those straight in the same game. But to hold weight,
other teams that could be in the wide receiver market, especially in this range too.
Yeah, to hold weight on Ryan's double tight end thing, they did sign Will Dissly and Hayden Hurst.
And gave Dissly a good contract, like better than what you would have expected Will Dissly to get.
Well, we expect Will Dissly to be making like a Caitlin Clark contract. Like their contract should be flopped.
And he's making 10 times that.
Yeah, he's making a lot more than that. They should be swapped. But yeah, he's making absurd money. And they have 4 receivers currently on the depth chart. Quentin Johnston, Josh Palmer, Darius Davis. Left, right, slot. The backup to Quentin Johnston, Simi Fehoko.
Oh,
Yep.
from Dallas.
Former Cowboy.
Yeah.
It has him from Pittsburgh, but sure, I believe you.
Yeah,
I
he
believe
was
you.
Be
Dallas
the college
drafted
that
him.
he went to.
yeah, he was a 5th round pick from Dallas 2 years ago. 2 years ago.
3.
yeah,
I think it was
3.
3.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I'm happy for him. I've never heard of him. He's 6'4", 218.
It's good size.
Yeah, great size. Glad he's 4th on a depth chart.
He'll be able
of
to
the
hang
Chargers.
things high for them if they need someone to hang things.
Yeah, exactly. He's gonna look real. He's gonna look real good screwing in the nameplates on the lockers. All right, 25-32. Green Bay takes offensive tackle Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma. Tampa Bay takes Leatu Latu, and I know I'm saying it wrong, but out of UCLA. The Bucs just continually adding to their edge rushers in that defense. Arizona Cardinals take Kool-Aid McKinstry, the DB, and the best name in this draft out of Alabama.
Shout out to Millie Mills, who said he
Thank
should
you.
be a 1st-round pick. We were getting there, but
Yeah. The Bills will take wide receiver Troy Franklin out of Oregon. Detroit will take Nate Wiggins, the cornerback out of Clemson. The Baltimore Ravens somehow just get the best fucking guys in this draft. Every year, we let it happen. Ladd McConkey, the wide receiver out of Georgia. San Francisco takes edge rusher Jared Verse out of Florida State, and it was not that guy who I was thinking of. I was thinking of Braden Fisk, the D tackle out of Florida State, the athletic freak that man is, because they put him like right after some dude who ran like a 5.2 in the combine, and then he runs a 4.78, and he looks like.
I forgot all about that. You got so excited when that happened.
Yeah. Athletic freak, that man, on a Thursday at the combine. And then the Chiefs take Adonai Mitchell out of Texas. I have thoughts on that one, but we'll start with Troy Franklin, who, again, it's a shame Ladd McConkey is not getting even more love over him. But the Bills do need a receiver. They plain and simple, they cannot walk in with Khalil Shakir as their wide receiver 1. Why do you like Franklin to go here?
Yeah, so it's hard for me to separate Franklin and McConkey, but what made the decision to put Franklin here easy for me is the fact that the Bills already have a ton of help in the slot between Dawson Knox, between Dalton Kincaid, between Shakir. They need a field stretcher, and that is exactly what Franklin does. Now, that might be a knock on him, that he doesn't run a lot of routes, that he pretty much just sticks to those vertical routes, but it doesn't matter. That's all the Bills need. They've already got plenty of help in the intermediate area of the field. And he's got 4.4 speed. I think he's got like a 39-inch vertical, something that's like in the 85th percentile. Insane. And that's exactly what they need after trading away Diggs and, giving all exercise Gabe Davis free reign to walk away in free agency.
Any thoughts on Troy Franklin? I'm not a big fan, but it makes complete sense. They need a guy with speed on the outside.
Yeah, I had him going.
You don't
there
have
as
to
well.
have analysis. It's fine if you don't. I was
going to say I have him going there
Right.
as well for the exact reasons she mentioned. You're looking at Adonai Mitchell, who probably needs a little bit more development, isn't ready to step in to be a 1. We've seen Franklin be a 1 in a productive offense. You have to get Josh Allen someone to throw to.
Yes, 100%.
I like Franklin. I'm coming around on him a lot. I think he's kind of Devonta Smith light, just a little faster. But he's got that slender frame, and I think that's kind of his biggest issue. I mean, he had a lot of productive seasons in Oregon, but was 176 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a very easy way to get bullied off the line of scrimmage. And we saw it with the Chiefs and how they bodied Tyreek Hill. Like, these smaller, not very big guys if you're playing press coverage, you can get beat off the line very quickly, and it disrupts everything that the offense is trying to do. They have, like Britt said, quite a bit of players that can play out of the slot. They signed Curtis Samuel, Shakir, Kincaid, all those guys. That's great. And they need somebody that can get down the field. And I think that the way that this offense seems to be shaking up with Joe Brady now calling the plays is that they don't need like a dominant one. They need a complementary piece. And I think that's why someone like Franklin would make a lot of sense for this team. While he has shown that he can dominate, I think he did a lot of great things for Bo Nix, helping him kind of raise his draft pedigree and, you know, his maturation into a pretty solid quarterback. There's quite a bit that he can still learn to grow into. And I think having other pieces like a Samuel and a Kincaid and a Shakir to kind of give him time to grow into that would be really good for this offense.
Now on to the steal of the draft.
Absolutely.
Whoever gets this man is going to be very excited. And I don't know how I feel about him going to Baltimore from a fantasy perspective. But Ladd McConkey is a man. That is a grown man right there. All right? You don't name your child Ladd without expecting him to do big things. Now, I wouldn't expect football. I expect him as a knight protecting the castle. But he's in the NFL. I love Ladd McConkey. I think he's going to be fantastic. Why do you have him going to Baltimore?
Yeah, like you said earlier, the rich just keep getting richer. Ladd McConkey
insane.
is a guy that I haven't seen going in the first in a lot of drafts, but I think that he has first-round talent. And if he's sitting there, the Ravens already have all their other pieces because they've got one of the most complete teams in this entire league. Why not go for the guy who can work out of the slot and move Zay Flowers to the outside where he really, really thrived at the end of last season? Get this guy. He ranked 92nd percentile in yards per route run last season. And if you look at the other PFF stable metrics, it's almost perfect in every single aspect. I don't think that I've ever seen a more perfect stable metric chart than I have for Ladd McConkey. He did miss some time due to injury, so I guess there's a little concern with that. But with the highlights he puts up and the tape that he's got, I mean, this guy is going to be a baller in this league, and he's going to be a perfect fit in Baltimore.
I would.
Do you think this changes at all with the Ravens having extended Rashad Bateman today?
I don't think so, because McConkey's a slot guy. And, you know, Bateman's going to run on the outside. He's going to be hurt again. So it's going to be fine.
He was mostly healthy last year.
Didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Was he?
He didn't produce much. But he was
like a badly bruised banana. Like, yeah, you could still eat it, but why would you want to do that? Like, just go get another one. Just go get a fresh one from the grocery store. Like, why would you do that?
Let me continue to believe in Bateman, all right, Joe? Shut up.
You can. You Delulu, but you can. What I would love is nobody draft Ladd McConkey and the Patriots, for once in their life, make a good wide receiver pick and take Ladd McConkey in the second round.
Well,
but
I would also say the Patriots could be in a spot to move up here because a lot of these teams, as Britt mentioned, Baltimore is a complete team. They don't need anything. So acquiring even future picks might be the move for Baltimore. And that could be a move where the Patriots certainly need a wide receiver and they don't pick very deep into the second round where it's not a hard move up for them.
Good
They
point.
could be looking at offensive line too. I mean, the Ravens lost 3/5 of their starting offensive line this offseason.
I thought you meant the Patriots.
No. That's why I think and this draft is pretty deep in offensive linemen, but if someone like the Patriots do want to move up, that's what, a 6-spot drop back. Like, you can still get a pretty quality offensive lineman at that point.
I've been conditioned. What even is trading up when you think about it? I've been conditioned.
I read a mock today that saw the Patriots trade back twice from 3.
Oh.
And you know what? I would sit there and I would sit there and I would just be like, that checks out.
So
all of this makes sense.
That's one of my concerns is I feel like Arizona, New England, one of these teams that we are certain is going to grab their quarterback this year is just gonna be like, nope, fuck it. What can we get for next year? And we'll punt this year.
You want to know who that's going to be? The fucking Patriots.
Yeah.
That's who it will be. It will be the Patriots. If there's one team, it's the Patriots. So
The only point against that, and I don't want to spend a ton of time talking Patriots, but the only point against that is they kind of need to prove this isn't Belichick's team anymore. So I feel like that's why you go out and you make the big splash pick that he wouldn't.
Ryan, here's the funny thing. It's been Robert Kraft's team this whole time, and that's been very apparent these last 3 months. All right? Been very apparent that this has been Robert Kraft's team. Nobody in New England likes the Kraft family right now. Everybody's back on Bill Belichick was the victim over these last couple of years. Now, granted, the man sucks as a personnel guy. I'm not going to defend him on that. All right? He's terrible. But Mac Jones was not his pick. Plain and simple, it was Robert Kraft's pick and Jonathan Kraft's pick. So, Bill Belichick, dog status restored. In the last pick of the first round, the Kansas City Chiefs take A.D. Mitchell. And my biggest question is, why him over his teammate, who a lot of people have going here because he may have broken the speed of sound record?
Because Xavier Worthy is just John Ross in a shiny little package. I mean, that where did he go?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I'm closing out strong.
Fucking end the
So
stream.
glad we just got Happy Joe.
End the show.
twice in a row.
End the show. Oh my God.
Joe's range of emotions on this stream is like, it's a fucking roller coaster right now.
Thank you. Thank you, Britt. There's been one good offensive skill position player that has run fast in the NFL draft, and it was Chris Johnson for 2 seasons. Never a receiver.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Also,
Yeah.
you're wrong about A.D. Mitchell. He sucks, but they will probably draft him.
No,
I agree with
I
that.
definitely think that his numbers and his metrics, like, they do not translate well to the NFL.
No.
I think what people are going to be looking at are his touchdowns. He's had a touchdown in all 5 college playoff games that he's played in, because he did play those 2 years at Georgia. And I think he had 11 long touchdowns last season, over 20 yards, something like that. So he is a vertical field stretcher. And although I don't necessarily think that that's what makes or breaks a receiver, people are going to look at the shiny new toy. I think he's just a little bit shinier than Xavier Worthy is. He does have some real issues fighting through contact and fighting through the ball to actually catch it. He kind of gives up on plays from what I've seen on tape. So that's something to worry about. But hey, that fits perfectly in Kansas City, because we saw that
funny.
all last season, people not putting in the effort. So with Rashee Rice potentially facing a suspension, they do need another wide receiver. They could also go cornerback here, but I think they're just going to do something for the offense right now, because I don't believe for a second that Kadarius Toney is anything more than Kadarius Toney, despite the GM coming out and saying that he's the best player in the wide receiver room right now.
Yeah,
He might be
because
the
Rashee
most
Rice isn't in the
talented.
wide receiver room.
Right.
He might be the most talented, but he's also the most he's also the one with the most unrealized talent.
I'm shocked he's still even
Potential as
on the
well,
team.
so.
I do think we need to go. Someone asked why AD over Leggett, because I think that's another one a lot of people like and want to see. I respectfully disagree that Xavier Worthy is Ross all over again. Xavier Worthy produced in college, so
You're a speed slut. That's why.
I am. However, I do agree that Kansas City is not going to take him, because you've tried
He's
this.
gonna be a
How many,
Raider.
you've tried this how many years now, and it hasn't worked. It's time to do something different, and AD Mitchell would certainly be very different for Kansas City. I was also thinking, if it were to shake out where Ladd McConkey fell to Kansas City,
Shut up.
where
Shut
you're
up.
losing Travis Kelce, who does his work over the middle, to grab Ladd McConkey, who does all of his work over the middle. Chef's kiss.
If Ladd McConkey goes to the Chiefs, 1, I will riot and commit arson on Arrowhead Stadium. 2, I will be drafting him so fucking high in redraft leagues. It'll be insane. Nobody will be able to get him from me. Not a single soul.
I just can't figure out why, Joe, you're so high on Ladd McConkey, yet so down on Xavier Worthy, when one of them actually produced in college and the other one did not.
Ladd McConkey had a good college career?
No,
Mark?
he did not. Go and please look at his statistics
Yeah.
in comparison to Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy produced all 3 years he was at Texas.
All
With a pretty bum-ass quarterback, by the way.
You want here's all I need to tell you. Xavier Worthy, fastest guy ever in the NFL Combine. Speed doesn't win games. Ladd McConkey, his 40 time was the exact average 40 time of the top 5 wide receivers in the NFL last year.
Okay.
He can catch his
question, Josh.
Sorry, give me the guy that produces.
Okay. Xavier Worthy said, I'm not going to do skills drills. That's a red flag. Ladd McConkey skills drills was top 3, arguably, of anybody at the Combine. His route running is insane. His hands are fantastic. Speed, route running, he's better. He's better.
I will give you route running because Ladd McConkey is one of the better route runners in this draft.
Yes.
Once you get past the top 3 guys. So
Ladd McConkey. Ladd McConkey, Georgia. Ladd McConkey. I don't know what to tell you. Oh, I'm sorry. He plays in the Big 12?
Georgia wide receivers are fucking head cases. Just go all the way back.
He plays in the Big 12? Oh my God. That's like playing against North Dakota State. Those fucking defenses. Yeah, Troy Franklin looked really good in the Pac-12. You want to know why? It's the Pac-12, and they don't play defense. Ladd McConkey,
That is true.
baby. Ladd McConkey's a dog. It's the Pac-2 now, so it doesn't even matter. Ladd McConkey is a fucking dog. And it's just Boatman, brings up, he's a Vikings fan who wants McCarthy so badly. Now, Penix fears the worst to happen because Kwesi messes up a lot and has been in the hot seat. If the Vikings are going to take Penix, they're not trading up for him. I think they'd stay put at 11 or take him at 23.
I also think,
Yeah.
this might be you being a Vikings fan. Kwesi's done a pretty good job. I mean, it's maybe easier from.
He's
the
been good
outside
at
looking
drafting.
in. Yeah,
Building the rest of the team,
I mean,
has been questionable.
He made the trade for T.J. Hawkinson. Worked out pretty damn well for them. But then again, Sam Darnold's in charge of the whole rest of this thing right now.
Oof.
One. The Jordan Addison pick, great. Opting not to bring back Dalvin Cook, smart. But there was no answer for the guy behind Dalvin Cook. So he's been hot and cold, definitely. But his drafting and some of his better moves have shined more. I think some of the role player moves have been what has hurt him and the Vikings as a whole more.
And he clearly doesn't understand how a fucking secondary works.
What even is defense? What even is the back end of a defense when you think about it, right? Who needs a secondary when Harrison Smith is there? What other classic white wide receiver terms can we do? Coach's son. Damn, he said it. Yeah, sneaky athletic first and last, though. Lunch pail kind of guy. He's a lunch pail kind of guy. That's my favorite one. Gym rat. This isn't in here. He's a gym rat. That's another one. Yeah.
Oh, man.
McConkey brings back a more athletic Wes Welker. That's what it brings back. And that's what Chris said. A more athletic Wes Welker.
Yep. And so now you just need to get a Tom Brady and it'll matter. Josh,
I have been trained that the only good receivers ever in NFL history are white slot receivers. Okay. I've watched them for 15 years. Those are the only good receivers in the NFL. That's all I know. I only know Wes Welker and Julian Edelman. All right.
I love how we moved on to talking about Adonai Mitchell and have not even talked about Adonai Mitchell.
Listen,
yet.
I got a little sprinkle at Jacoby Myers. But he was a little too burnt. Okay, for Bill Belichick's liking. All right, he wasn't there, so he went on to Las Vegas, and he's killing it with the Raiders. I love Jacoby Myers, but I was trained. The only good receivers in NFL history are white slot receivers. Steve Largent. Thank you, Chris. No, I love McConkey. I think he's going to be great. AD Mitchell. His why can't I think of the drill? The gauntlet drill. Awful. Absolutely terrible.
I was going to say, you were at the combine, so you know.
His gauntlet drill was awful. It was one of the worst in his group. He couldn't stay on a straight line. And he dropped the football. You can't do that. But that does fit perfectly in the Chiefs system, Britt, so I will give you that.
Right.
Requirements.
Yes, we talked AD.
Yeah, we did.
Requirements. Speed and drops.
Yes.
AD Mitchell
I'm also
has
an
it.
AD hater. I'm not a big fan of Adonai Mitchell. So
Listen, I'm not picking the players I think that are the best. I'm picking who I think is going to go to which team. And this is a prototypical Kansas City pick right here.
Prototypical Kansas City pick. Scampers. I'm just glad the listeners have my back on this one. That's all I'm saying. Kendrick Bourne, dog. I love Kendrick Bourne. All right? if he has a decent quarterback this year, I like him a lot, and as a wide receiver too. Britt, thanks for coming on. This was great. You
It's
said
been
two of the
such a
best things
blast.
I've heard in the 7 years of doing this show.
I
was
just
the-
love you. You pulled the Tom Cruise on the couch. Like I
was
can't believe I
excited.
got that out of you.
Well,
That was
here's the thing.
amazing.
I gave you who did I give this? I gave
Take
the
notes,
standing O.
sellers.
I gave the standing O to Quentin Johnston, right? I
Mhm.
gave the standing O on that one. And then you said Xavier Worthy's John Ross, and I'm only 5'10", so I'm not tall enough to give a bigger standing ovation, so I had to stand on the bed to give you a bigger standing ovation for Xavier Worthy as John Ross. So I had to stand on the bed. So there we
It
go.
was great.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Tomorrow, 7th annual NFL draft live stream. Kick things off at 7:30. So 30 minutes before the first pick's supposed to be made, but probably an hour and a half before the first pick will actually be made, because it's not like Chicago has made up their mind over the last 6 months. They're still mulling it over, not too sure on who they're going to take, and it's going to take 17 hours for Roger Goodell to walk to the podium. A whole bunch of friends, teammates joining the stream, in and out. Josh and I will be here the whole time. Ryan will dip out at some point, I believe.
I've got
Maybe.
Ryan on the full schedule. He said he's going. I said, all right.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy. Ryan's here the whole time.
I haven't been able to spend enough time with Joe. I needed more time.
I know, yeah. You should. You're gonna want to leave. Trust me. You're gonna want to leave.
I kind of already want to decommit.
Yeah. Hey, listen, no one's holding you to it, right?
That's true.
All I know is that everyone listening could have left at any point, and they didn't.
That's right.
Entertainment value through the roof.
Captain
Next
Audience.
week, recapping the draft with Garrett Price from Dynasty Nerds. That'll be Josh and Ryan. I will not be here. We'll let you know the biggest winners and losers, what to expect from the rookie class, and that'll really help because landing spots will definitely change how your rookie dynasty drafts will go down. So if Adonai Mitchell goes to Kansas City, you might see him shoot up into the first round of your 1 QB dynasty drafts, just like Clyde Edwards-Helaire started going 101 over Jonathan Taylor when the Chiefs drafted him. And Josh, I have not been on here long enough, or
This
have
is
recent
literally
enough.
just kick it to me and I'll run through everything.
Yeah, and that's
I
why
got
that's
you, man.
that's
This
what
is
I'm doing. It says
we do
mention
these
the shows we have on the channel and
There you
women of
go.
fantasy football coverage of the NFL draft. Josh Hudson.
There you go. Yeah, perfect. Yep. Just kick it to
That
me.
that should kick.
As you mentioned, Joe, our
Yeah.
NFL draft live stream tomorrow, Thursday, 7:30
already said that.
p.m. Eastern. I know you did.
Go to the next
Saturday
thing.
morning, Ryan will be doing another rookie mock draft when we
Nope,
know some
startup.
landing spots. Oh, you're doing
Startup
a
this
dynasty
time.
startup.
Because
Oh.
the rookies are still being drafted, I figure let's just do a startup in the middle of the draft.
Oh, I know what's happening on this channel.
It's our buddy Kevin Coleman from Football Guys.
There you go. On Mock It Like It's Hot Saturday morning, Dynasty After Party on Sunday. The guys should be recapping the NFL draft. And then Monday night, Mocking with the Stars. Gator J is going to have Iowa Mike from South Harmon on the show. Tuesday night, Masterclass, the new best ball show with Jay and Stacy Perez. Wednesday morning, next episode of Who's Your Caddy? And of course, right back here next Wednesday with Garrett Price, talking winners and losers of the NFL draft. It's going to be so much fun. Can't wait.
If you can't make Who's Your Caddy, spoiler, Scotty Scheffler.
He's not
Spoiler.
playing this week, Joe. He's not playing this week.
Okay, not Scotty Scheffler. But when he is playing, Scotty Scheffler.
See, if you watched Who's Your Caddy, you
Yeah.
would know that.
I would know that. And Scampers, this is like Hotel California, all right? You can there's no leaving. It's Hotel California.
The youngest of us busts out a fucking Hotel California.
Right?
Because in my music appreciation class in high school,
Lou Zollo, I'm guessing.
in my music appreciation class in high school, we talked about different songs, and was it Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, I believe, by the Beatles, is a song about LSD and drugs. And we talked about Hotel California, how that is a song about drugs, and the line, you can check out, but you can never leave, addiction. I was like, wow, that's so deep. I'm 15, and this is cool to me. So there you go.
I
But
love it.
more importantly, make sure you are following women_FF on Twitter and Instagram.
Oh, yeah, that's important.
Because we have a contingent of people at the NFL draft in Detroit. Renee, our newest contributor with Club Fantasy and Women of Fantasy Football, is there. She's doing some amazing work following up her appearance at the Super Bowl with us earlier this year. And then our good buddy Hoove from In Between Media is also there, along with Dennis and Paul, I believe, who are there with Britt when you guys were there last year.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, be sure to follow because we're sharing, retweeting all their work, and it is absolutely fantastic. Them getting to talk to some of the players during some of the events today.
Boom. For Josh, Ryan, Britt, myself, you can follow Club Fantasy on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Club Fantasy FFL. The URL is clubfantasyffl.com. Always remember, defense wins championships, offense wins fantasy football. We will see you tomorrow night for the NFL Draft Fantasy Football live stream. We were the first ones to do it. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. We started this shit, all right? We didn't start in COVID. We started this. We were the original, 7th annual. Started in 2018. Defense wins championships, offense wins fantasy football. We'll see you on NPI next week recapping the NFL Draft.